This is one of our 4 helicopters. They're the primary machines that we use to take care of the mosquitoes here in the Keys. And this system right here is a dry dispersal system. This is what we put the larvicide, the material that goes out and treats the standing water in the Keys. And it's put on a ground corn cob. So that's what it is. It goes out. We load it in tanks on either side of this helicopter. This will carry 800 pounds at a time. And it comes out through this dispersal here when they're in the appropriate area. We treat it 7.5 pounds of that material per acre, and we use a few 100,000 pounds a year, sometimes up to 400,000 pounds in a year's time, treating the standing water in the Keys, mostly from rainwater, but a lot from high tides too. All right, this is the inside of the helicopter. What you're seeing here is the instrument panel and where the pilot sits, and that screen over on the right-hand side is our GPS. It's different than a normal GPS in that we have polygons or pictures drawn around all of our spray areas, and the pilot can see those as he's going in and out, so he knows when to turn the system on, when to turn it off, when he's treated the areas. And it gives us a report of everything that's done. We get a report that comes back, it shows where the spray's been, where the helicopter's been, tells us how much product's been put out, and all the rest, so it gives us a complete record of everything that we do. Everything else in here is pretty much a normal helicopter, instrumentation for navigation and watching the engine. We also have a small instrument on top there to give us weather radar, so they can tell where the thunderstorms are when they're out treating in the fields in summertime, because you get a lot of storms pop up here and there, and so that helps them to avoid those. This is the cyclid, it's called, and this is how the pilot controls the helicopter with this here rather than a yoke like on an airplane. This little box here has all the controls for our spray systems. We have 2 different spray systems, the granular system, which you've seen on there, and then a liquid system that we use for treating the standing container mosquitoes down in Key West when we had the dengue outbreak and since. So the pilot has the switches right here where he can turn everything on and off, and so he can do everything with his one hand while he's watching this screen. This is a light bar, tells him when he's lined up where he's supposed to be, gives him directions from either side so that he stays straight on his swath. And then when he comes back around, it puts him right back on the next swath, so it's the exact spot, because when we're larviciding, they treat a 70-foot wide swath, and they have to be right side by side so the product lines up as they're going by. So it's, with these types of equipment in here, this gets to be a very precise operation. When the pilot flips the switch and turns the system on, the material is in this tank here, and there's a blower behind it. This gate opens right here. This little actuator opens a gate, and a blower blows the material out right here, and it'll blow out about 30 feet on either, 35 feet on either side of the helicopter is what we're calibrated at. And it just spreads out this ground up corn cob over the standing water out in the Keys and the mangroves and the tidally flooded areas and things like that. This is the piece of equipment we now use to load the material we were talking about in the helicopter out in the field. We have several landing sites up and down the Keys that we work from, so we can be as close to the places that we have to treat as we can be, to minimize the wasted time back and forth. Historically, this material that we've been talking about comes in 40-pound bags, and when we went out to, say, Big Pine area to treat, we'd have to bring the inspectors in to the loading zone for the helicopter and have 2 or 3 guys on each side loading thousands of pounds a day into the helicopter by hand. So Rick Heiser and Kurt Joseph, who are the 2 people that are mostly responsible for supporting the helicopter in the field, came up with, there's got to be a better way. And so 2 or 3 years ago, they were looking into it, and they designed this machine here, and we built it. And now we get the product in 1,200-pound bulk bags. They load them with the forklift into the top of this. This will hold 7,000 pounds or so in here. And then this boom swings out, and it's got another little piece that comes down off of this boom. The helicopter comes and lands straight into in front of this machine, and the boom swings around, and they load in each hopper, go around from one hopper to the other, and then push it back, and they can get the whole thing done with 1 person, maybe 2 people for safety, and be done in 2 minutes, and the helicopter's offline again. So it's a big improvement. It even has a scale on it. The whole thing sits on a scale so that we can accurately inventory and know exactly what we're putting in the helicopter, so we make sure we get the right amount out and we keep track of exactly what's going on. So this has been a great improvement to our operations over the last couple of years when they came up with this and we built it. So we've got 2 of these now, and that's primarily what we use up and down the Keys, mostly during the summer when we're out treating when the rains come. So you might see this going up and down the highway. You'll probably see it. It looks like a big piece of farm equipment because this is actually what this is. It's called a gravity box, that part of it, and it's used for loading feeds and field stuff out in Iowa or somewhere, I guess, where they came up with this. Being from the Keys, I'd never seen one of these before. But so they got that, we modified it, set it on this trailer, did the modifications that we need to load the helicopter with. It's run by hydraulics. It's got an auger in here that runs the material up and then it flows down into the helicopter. And we've also got fuel on the front of the trailer so they can fuel up the helicopter. And that's what this is the fueling nozzle and system for the helicopter. Comes from that tank up there. So it's greatly increased the efficiency of our organization being able to do that. Okay, before we saw the helicopter, this is a different helicopter, but the same model we were looking at before with the granular larviciding system on it, which is a standard thing, and a lot of people use it. This system here is for dispersing liquids, and we've changed it. We were the first people in the world to ever try this from the air. I think I mentioned that earlier. We're going to be doing this tomorrow down on Big Pine for the invasive albopictus mosquito. And what we do is the liquid goes in this tank. It's a powder. It's mixed up in a tank that we do. We load 100 gallons at a time, and they treat 200 acres at a time with that. And then these spray heads here are driven by the wind and calibrated to a certain speed, and the droplets are dispersed through this screen on the back there. And the droplets are put out in such a size that once they get out of the air column, get down behind the trees or the houses, they will float around obstructions mostly instead of running into like the branches. And they can get down under the bushes and get into containers, the small containers, cups, junk that people have left laying outside that these mosquitoes breed in. And this was something that we started developing when we had the dengue outbreak several years ago at Key West. And this has been one of the things that's kept that dengue out, I believe, in Key West since then, because we've been doing this in the summer. We'll do it on a regular basis all summer in Key West, and now we've expanded it out to a few other areas trying to rid ourselves of the albopictus mosquito that's come in Big Pine and a little area in Key Largo.
Folks, we're back with you, and we're ending this segment of looking at mosquito control. And Steve, I can't thank you enough for being here with us and allowing us to look at your operation and the guys. And thank you. Thank you for all you do. And folks, stand by. We're still working on and going to improve your airport, because it is your airport. We're behind the fence, something that people normally don't get to see, and we're thrilled you're with us. Keep staying attuned to Channel 88, TV 88. It is a great channel, and they do a wonderful job for our community. So thank you and goodbye, and we'll be back.